Okay, let's get the session started, right? So for those of you guys who just joined us, we are doing our live analysis session for today. Just a quick introduction of myself. I'm Lee Sing. I provide FX advisory to institutional clients. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn if you have any questions regarding the sessions that are done on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So just a quick disclaimer before we get the session started. The information presented here is not to be treated as investment advice. It's for educational purposes only. So this is the agenda that we will be covering for today. We will first hop on to the key events to take a look at what are the economic releases due for this week, following which we will take a look at the setups. And along the way, right, if you guys have any questions, any chart requests, right, please just put them under the tab. So if there are any charts that you want us to take a look at, or even any charts that you're trading, it doesn't have to be FX. If you have indices or even charts related to specific stocks or specific companies, right? Just put them under the tab. Okay, so before we hop on to the charts, right, let's take a look at our key economic calendar first. So for economic calendar, you can actually take a look at Vantage Markets, right? Just go to vantagemarkets.com. So under vantagemarkets.com, education and tools, educational webinars, right? So this would be the place where we have our schedule out, right? We have a session on a daily basis, and these are the recordings of the sessions. And on top of that, we also have the economic calendar. So this is under education and tools tab, economic calendar. So just click on this. And you can see that this is the FX economic calendar. It shows the different currencies economic releases, right? How it impacts the currencies, and the extent of the impact comes from this box here. So the ones in red would be the ones with higher impact, the ones in amber, and also the ones in gray are the ones with lower impact. So you can take a look at all these events coming up, right? So you can see that the key events that we have that are coming up for today would revolve mainly around dollar, right? So this is the crude oil stock inventory data. And then you have your EU leader summit as well. So this, and also the Riksbank interest rate decision. Okay, so key ones that I look out for would be usually on interest rates decisions, right? So central banks, monetary policy meetings, interest rate decision, your retail sales data, because that will be an indicator of the domestic growth. And then also CPI data, right? So that measures inflation. So if inflation continues to climb, there's more pressure for central banks to raise rates to curb inflation. So that's one. And then there is other data include, let's see, on GDP data. Right, so GDP would be a key one as well. And then on, of course, the jobs data. So every first Friday of the month, there's US non-farm payroll data. So those would be the key ones to watch. Okay, so let's take a look at our charts now, right? So there are a few charts that I want to go through and also review, right? So taking a look at Aussie dollar, right, and our call of last week. So on Aussie dollar, on the higher time frame, you can see that it's sitting on some kind of resistance. I believe this is on the weekly or even the monthly. So this area here, you can see that this, in terms of looking at just how price react with individual candles, you can see that this is a resistance area on the monthly time frame. If we are on the daily time frame, we saw earlier that prices were still holding above an ascending channel. We also noted that there is a support level over here, right? So this is the H4 support level, where we also termed it our downside confirmation level, right? So I believe this is on the smaller time frame. So this level that we found, so essentially this area, it's a support level, so waiting for price to break below this level as our downside confirmation in order for price to push down further. So you can see right now on Aussie dollar, right, if you take a look at it in terms of market structure on your higher time frame, so prices are still sitting on this resistance area on the higher time frame. So if you're to start a fresh analysis here, you can see that price broke out of the ascending channel or ascending trend line. So if you draw an ascending trend line here, okay, this one might not be as ideal, right? But this So we have previously an ascending channel. You can see that price broke out of this level. Okay, so price broke below this area. In terms of graphical support resistance level, you can see that it's the resistance area. Here, right, so looking at how price reacted, you can see that price came in, tested this region as a support, pushed above it and broke this level. So this itself is the first support turn resistance level. Seeing how price react as a support, and then testing that support level to eventually failing it. So in terms of psychology, you can think that when price or when buyers, traders first see the bounce over here, right? They saw this bounce, saw price push higher, came back in, right? It enticed buyers to come into the market, and following that break below, people who are holding onto the long position will be in a loss, right? So when price comes back up to the break even, they might want to close out their position. So this is one. So this is a resistance area, right? So how we can also check using our Fibonacci retracement, right? So from the sessions that we have covered in the past few weeks, you can see that this is the push, this is the impulse, and this is the correction, right? So this itself, if we want to use Fibonacci retracement to try and find resistance, you can see that this is the high, which can be used as our starting point. This is the low, which can be used as our ending point. So when we do that, right, this is the high, this is the low. So you can take a Fibonacci retracement of the move starting from the high and low. So start from the high and at the low. Open up this key levels, you can see that this is the 61.8 retracement lining up with this area. So the support and resistance area. So this is the first level. It's also the breakout of this ascending channel, right, over here. So this is the first level. The next level would be, of course, our resistance area, right? So this, you can see that in terms of significant swing points, this is one low, second low, third low, fourth low, and then price broke below, right? So if price breaks above this high, right, this is where we want to get out of the position. So for me, this is the next graphical area, the high over here, right? So what you can check with this high is that there isn't any Fibonacci retracement on this level, because if you're to take a high, this is the starting point, right? So anywhere between this point itself, right? If it goes beyond it, there isn't a level that we can do it. We can try and find here, unless we project the 127 retracement. So let me just open up the 1.272. Okay, so this is much higher at the top of this channel. Okay, so this is not as relevant, right? But another way we can also check if there are any resistance levels is to try and find if there are any Fibonacci extensions. So for Fibonacci extensions, they are basically zigzag patterns, right? So Fibonacci extensions are zigzag patterns like this. So what we're trying to project over here when we draw the zigzag patterns is by taking these 3 points and trying to find if there are any zigzag patterns that line up at a high. So that's what we're trying to do, right? So in drawing this zigzag pattern, you can find that this would be the extension, taking 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. So when you open up the key extension levels, you can see that this is the 100% extension, which lines up with the resistance. And the next extension level is slightly higher, right? So this lines up with the high, this graphical high. So if we want to have our position, right, just putting this stop loss slightly above this graphical high, understanding that if price breaks above this high, then we're wrong, we want to get out of the position. So this is one, right? And then in terms of the support target, you can see that this is the support target. Again, when we're trying to find support target, what we're trying to look for is that when I draw a horizontal line across, right, we want to make sure as much as possible that price taps this area as both a support and resistance level. So that's the general idea, right? So you can see the price respected this area as resistance, and then as a support over here, again here. Okay, so these are the levels. So what we can do next, right, having found these levels, is that we try and check if there are any Fibonacci retracement levels that line up here. So this support level, apart from just being graphical, we're trying to find if there are any levels, right, in terms of the Fibonacci's. It can be retracement or extension that lines up here. So that's what we're trying to do. So you can see that on this area, this is the push up, then positive move, and the pullback, right? So what I can do is to take a Fibonacci retracement using that low and high as the starting and ending point. So when you open up the Fibonacci retracement from low to high, open up these key levels, you can see that the 50% retracement, it's in line with the support level that we found. And if you're to do your extension, right, extension has zigzag patterns, we're trying to project these points. So if this is our first area, right, then essentially this would be the projection. So again, Fibonacci extensions are zigzag pattern, so you want to do that. and try and see if there are any points that line up there. So 61.8 is much lower. So there isn't any extension level that lines up with this first area. Right, so this is one, right? So on Aussie dollar, you see the break of this ascending channel, and then we're currently pulling back into this resistance area. Right, this zone that we've highlighted. Okay, so for round number's sake, probably just put it at 30. So this area. So this is one. So I think we could see more downside from here, right? This is the first support area. It's also the downside confirmation level, which means that we need price to break below this level in order to see a further push down. Right? So if that is the first support level, this would be the next support level. Okay, so now that we have taken a look at Aussie dollar, right? Let's take a look at other setups. So let's go through dollar index as well, right? So before we go on to Aussie dollar, let's also take a look at dollar index, right? So jobs data actually came in a lot stronger than expected, so that this helps to boost the dollar. So again, right, starting from your higher time frame first, so you can see that prices are sitting on this resistance turn support level here. We saw how price reacted as both a resistance and then coming in to test this level as a support, right? So this is on the bigger time frame. If I take a look at it on the daily, you can see that on the daily currently it's forming some kind of structure, pull back into this area, right? So price wick below this, and currently it's testing this region. So this is on the daily, right? Let me just remove all the rest of this areas first so that we can mark out this points clearer. So in terms of resistance, you can see if I were to just draw a horizontal line across, we saw how price interacted with this zone, both again as a support and resistance. So currently it's within this area, right? So another thing you can check if there are any levels that line up here, it's to again take your Fibonacci retracement. This is the high, this is the low. So this is the move and this is the impulsive, the pullback, right? So what you can do is use this as a starting point and this as the ending point. So when you do your Fibonacci retracement, using that as the starting point and ending point, right, what you want to do again, open up the key levels. You can see the 23.6 retracement level. This zone is essentially, right, the first resistance area. We saw price coming into this region. Right now, it's pulling back slightly from this area. So this is on the 4 hours, right? So we're seeing some kind of rejection into this area. On the 4 hours, what you want to highlight, following which is again support level. So where is the place where we see huge reactions? It will be this area. So you see how price interacted with this zone and then how price reacted off this area. So this would be the support level. So once you found these levels, again, right, where we're trying to check on every pullback, we're trying to see that with this pullback, if this area actually lines up with any support level. So Fibonacci retracement, this is the push up, this is your retracement. So you will take this low, right? This is the low as your starting point. This is the high as the ending point. So Fibonacci retracement from low to high, again, right, open up this key levels, you can see that the 50% level itself, this 50% lines up exactly with the zone. Okay, so you can see that's very standard, right? So we always try and find a zone and then after that identify it using our Fibonacci retracements or extensions. So the final step, right, we have found our Fibonacci retracement. The next thing is to check for Fibonacci extensions. Fibonacci extensions, again, right, this is the zigzag pattern. So having identified the zigzag pattern, we know that there's 3 points that we can use as turning points. So this is point 1, point 2, point 3. So, right, we want to take these 3 points as our turning points and try and project if there are any extension levels that line up there. So there's 3 points, right? So open up the key levels, point 1, point 2, point 3. So you can see this zone, right? So the 100% is slightly lower, right? So you can either consider this area itself, or if I were to open up the 78.6%, right, this will be slightly higher. So it's around this area here. So for me personally, I'll just consider the 100% extension because this area is more in line with this graphical level. And even if you switch it into line chart, you can see that this area, right, that we drew this horizontal line across has been tested twice. Okay, so this is one area to watch. So this is on dollar index, right? So we could be seeing a further push into this support region here, right? And if we take a look at the M15 minutes, right, you can see that on the M15 minutes as well, right? Take a look at it in terms of, you can take a look at it in terms of line chart, in terms of candlestick charts. Even if I have to switch it to line charts, right, just highlight the significant highs. You can see here, right? So they're forming against subsequent lower lows, lower highs, right? So which means that even if it comes into a support area, right, in order to see price hold within this region, we need to see again a change in structure. Okay, so this is the picture for dollar index right now in the 4 hours. I think we could see a deeper pullback into this zone over here, the support area at this region, right? Which then we can see a push up from here. Okay, so this is my view on dollar index, right? Let's take a look at another setup, which is on euro dollar. And then at the same time, right, if you guys have any setups, if there are any charts that you want us to take a look at, right, please put them under the questions tab. Okay, so let's take a look at euro dollar. And then later on, I want to take a look at gold as well. Okay, so again, from the higher time frame first, right? So you can see that on the higher time frame, on the weekly, on euro dollar here, this region itself, right, this area, if I to just again draw a horizontal line across, you can see support and resistance level over here. Right, so again, how it divides the chart very neatly, of course, it's not a specific level, rather it's always a zone. So this region, right, so essentially when price comes into this area, right, this is one that we can consider. So for me, this is a weekly graphical resistance area, right? So what we can also do, it's again to check with this area, right? This is the push. You can see the whole push down, impulsive move, right? And then price, it's pulling back here. So this is the highest point. This is the lowest point. So what you want to check, right? Taking this Fibonacci retracement of the move from high to low. So you can see that currently prices are testing the 50% retracement. It's right there, right? Reacting right off this region. That's one. And we have another graphical area that's lying slightly higher. Okay, so this is the resistance area, the 50% resistance area here, right? And then you can see on the weekly time frame itself, right? It's also, so it's currently in between the support and resistance area. You can see how price tested this region. Even if you put it in a line chart, you can see that price has been testing it, broke above it as a resistance. Now it's holding onto it as a support, right? And again, what you can do is to check first, right? If at this higher levels, there are any Fibonacci retracements that line up. So this is the push up, this is the pullback, right? And we've learned from earlier sessions that if you want to do a Fibonacci retracement to try and find support, you want to identify the lowest point as your starting point and your highest point as your ending point. So Fibonacci retracement of the move from low to high, you can see that 23.6% lines up with the support level. So what this tells us on the higher time frame is that prices are sitting within the support and resistance level, right? Currently it's within the support area. If you go on to the daily time frame, you can see over here, right? It's currently sitting on this region. There is a push up that we saw earlier, right? And then right now prices are pulling back into this area, to this region, right? But you can also check from this region. You can see that this is the push up and the pullback. So you can also use the Fibonacci retracement on these 2 points and try and check if there are any levels that line up here. So Fibonacci retracement from low to high, you open up this key levels, you can see that the 78.6 or rather 61.8 retracement. I'll put this in a different color. So this color, right, is currently in line with this area too. And then this is on the daily time frame. So what this shows us is that we can say that on the higher time frame, right, currently prices are sitting on a support level. How do we know whether the support level is going to hold, right? So this is when on your smaller time frame, you can see that on the pullback, right, prices are starting to show a change in structure. So focus on just this portion of the chart. So if you focus on this portion of the chart, so you can see this move, right? So this over here, you can see that price, right, on the 4 hours is just a pullback. If you go on to the 15 minutes, so what we're trying to find is if there is a change in structure on the 15 minutes. You can see that this is the last high that's being formed, right? Price pulls back into this area. So if there is a break of this high itself, right, you can see that price currently pulls back into this area. So what we're trying to see is that if price breaks above this, so this is a resistance area, you can see the zone, right? So if price breaks above this, we could see more upside, that's one. Or price could pull back into this area here. So if you take a look at the demand region, you can see that this candle itself, this candle here, which I'll highlight in blue, right? This is the 15 minutes demand area. You can see how price came into this level, right? And pushed up higher. And more importantly, it swept this low. You can see that sweeps this previous candle's low. just here. Right, so price wick just slightly below this area and a wick below this area before it continues much higher. So I think we come back into this region, the support area here, right? This is an area that we could be seeing about. Okay, so this is on the 15 minutes on euro dollar, right? Again, if you want to wait for any confirmation on the smaller time frame, right? As always, when price enters into this region, you can see that on that pullback into the area, right, it'll be forming lower lows and lower highs. So when price comes into this region itself, just wait for a change in structure, right? It should show, right, as more confirmation for change to the upside. So this is the picture on euro dollar, right? And then let's take a look at gold as well. Okay, so if you take a look at gold, it's climbing up very slowly, right? So again, let's do for this. So this is on the weekly picture. You can see that on the weekly, it is facing some kind of resistance. Again, right, how I try and identify these zones is that I'll ask myself, if I draw a horizontal line across, am I able to divide this chart neatly? So is the horizontal line across where price actually respected this zone? So you can see that this area over here, or this zone that we have currently, you can see how price tested this region as both a support and resistance. So this is one, right? And again, if we were to put it in line chart, you can see pretty much the same thing as well, how price tested these areas as support and resistance zones. So once you've identified this, right, you can see that this is the push down, this is the pullback. So this is the high, this is the low, right? So you can take a Fibonacci retracement starting from the high and low. So once you do that, Fibonacci retracement from high to low here, you can see that this is the 61.8 retracement over here. Right, so 61.8 retracement. The next thing that you want to check would be Fibonacci extension, which are basically zigzag patterns. So this is the zigzag pattern here, right? And these are the 3 points. So when you do that, Fibonacci extension of this move, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, you can see that 100% extension. So I'll put this in a different color. So essentially, when we've identified the zigzag pattern, we will be able to project using these 3 turning points to find the extension level. So that's what we did. You can see the 100% extension just lining up here. So this is one zone, right? So if you go on to the daily time frame, you can see that on the daily time frame right now, prices are reacting off the support region. So I've mentioned previously, right, when there's a consolidation area, right, this on the smaller time frame. So if you see a bearish candle, right, and then a bullish candle that follows after, right, on the smaller time frame, this could represent a pullback or consolidation, right, before price continues in its direction of the trend. So this itself, right, we're seeing some kind of pullback now, and then there's a support level on the daily. If you go on to the 4 hours, you can see that this is the area, right? On the 4 hours, there's also a very clear support and resistance level over here. Okay, so you can see on the 4 hours, so let me just remove the rest of the stuff, right? Just understand that on the higher time frame, current prices are potentially sitting on a resistance area. And if you remove all this, right, you can see that if you take a closer look at where we are right now on the 4 hours, you can see this area here, a clear support to resistance level, this region. So just seeing how price reacted here, right? You saw how price reacted as a support, and then failing this level represented by this big bearish candle. This is also a strong breakout of this support. So this for me is the first resistance zone. Okay, so we've identified the first resistance zone. So this again is the whole move down and the pullback. So this is the highest point, this is the lowest point. So what you can do, right, taking Fibonacci retracement of this move. So from high to low, so that's what we're trying to do now. Take a Fibonacci retracement from high to low. Again, right, try and see if there are any Fibonacci levels that line up with this zone. So in this area, you can see that 38.2% lines up with this zone, right? So now we've identified our Fibonacci retracement. The next thing that you want to do is to check your Fibonacci extension. So Fibonacci extensions, right, they're zigzag patterns. So zigzag pattern itself, right, can you guys make a guess where the zigzag pattern would be? So is there a zigzag pattern that you've identified? And if so, right, if you have identified it, right, just put them down under the questions chat. Okay, so I'll just give it about 30 seconds for you guys to try and find the zigzag pattern. Right, so once you found the zigzag pattern, then it's easy to identify the extension levels or try and project the extension from there. Okay. Okay, so this is the zigzag pattern. Right, so once you found the zigzag pattern, you can just use these 3 points and project the extension level. So if you notice throughout this session, right, what's important is that with retracements and extensions, you can always find levels almost at every interval. So it's important that when you're drawing this, right, try and make sure that these levels are in line with the zone that you've highlighted. So in this case, right, this for me, it's an area. Because of how price reacted previously, you can see that this itself, right, if price comes into this region, there are not enough buyers to basically push prices higher, and then strong sellers coming into the market represented by this bearish huge candle. So in this area itself, you can see that there is the 78.6% extension, 38.2 retracement, right? So which means that when price comes into this region, right, you can also set an alert in this zone. And essentially coming into this region, you can see again higher lows, higher highs pushing up into this zone, right? So if there's any confirmation of a reversal, it has to be first shown on the 15-minute time frame or even the smaller time frames. You can see the 15-minute time frame. I look at the subsequent highs and lows. So if I were to mark out these highs, you can see subsequent highs, subsequent lows. Right, so what this shows you is that in this area itself, it's forming higher highs and higher lows, right? And it's likely to continue that way. If it comes into this zone and respects this zone as a resistance, then what we need to see coming into this area is a break of the last high. You can see that price will break below the high and then start forming your bearish market structure. Okay, so these are the ones that I have for this week, right? The setup. So this is on gold, so price could push lower, right? This is the resistance area for me on gold. And then for the support level, you can see that this is the support level. Again, just draw a horizontal line across, right? One area where price reacted multiple times, right? Or rather a zone where prices reacted multiple times. You can see here as a resistance and then again as a support. And what you can do, right? Again, try and see if there are any retracement levels here. So there's a push up and a pullback. So the push up, this is the retracement from low to high. So taking a Fibonacci retracement of this move from low to high, you can see that the 38.2% lines up exactly with the support level. So this area for me would be a key zone to watch. Okay, so this would be one, right? When price enters into this area, I'll try and wait for the smaller time frame for short confirmations, right? If there's any, and then this would be the support target. This would be the area to watch, right? So if price breaks above this high, this is when I want to get out of my short position. Okay, so I hope that this is clear so far, right? And I see that we have no other questions. So if you guys want to take a recording, take a look at the recording of the previous session, right? You can actually find them on our website. So just go to educational webinars over here. And you will be able to take a look at the previous recordings, right? So just click on view all. This should be send you to the YouTube page. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of this session, right? And I see that we have no other questions as well. So have a great trading week, everyone, right? Stay safe, trade safe, and we will catch you guys again tomorrow.